Hey, it's Kasim with Solutions 8, and I want to talk about what PPC should cost. And what I mean by that is what you should pay someone to manage your paid ad campaigns, specifically your Google search campaigns. This conversation for me is going to be focused on Google because I run a Google Ads agency. I actually think there's a really distinct difference in the work involved between Google Ads and Facebook Ads. And interestingly, I think Facebook Ads is harder. Facebook, generally speaking, isn't very evergreen. It requires new creative, new collateral being created all the time. There's way more emphasis on the creative and identifying new niches, new markets, new segments. The Facebook ad dashboard is easier. So it's easier to learn how to run Facebook ads than Google ads. And I don't think anybody would argue that, by the way. Even like hardcore Facebook people who are against Google will admit that Google's more complex, and maybe that's why they're against Google. So I think running ads inside of Facebook is much easier, but the managerial process is more complex because Facebook continuously runs out of ramp, or you can burn a list, or discontinue your show rate, whatever. So the fact that Facebook doesn't have that evergreen opportunity, I think makes it a little bit more difficult. And so, if there are agents out there charging $3, $4, $5 a month just for the management, that's why you're seeing that. I almost fell. For Google Ads management, the prices span the spectrum, and they do for Facebook too. But you can go get your Google Ads managed for $200 a month. Which is what it is. And then there's agencies that want $20,000 a month, or then I see some like absurd things. You know what I mean, like 70% of ad spend or whatever. The question, what should it cost? I think I'm going to turn back around on you. One thing that's worth doing is go try to run a Google Ads campaign. And I'm not being combative. I really mean it. Like if you are going to invest in this heavily and bank on it for your business, it's actually worth you spending just a couple of hours kind of, opening up a Google account, building a campaign, and starting to take a look at the complexities. I'm not asking you to learn it start to finish, but I think what you'll find very quickly is that there's a significant amount of decision making that needs to be made, a significant amount of monitoring that happens, and then quite a bit in the way of tweaking on an ongoing basis. And then you just ask yourself, like, gosh, well, how much would somebody have to pay me if I needed to do this regularly? Because, I can't tell you that running a Google Ads campaign is a full-time job per se, meaning that we're not looking at it 40 hours a week, but it could be for the right person. Like, you could end up hiring a person in-house, and that needs to be their dedicated role, if not because it takes that much time, but because it takes that much expertise. Where managing your Google Ads campaign is not a full-time job, staying up to date on Google Ads sure as hell is. So, in terms of what it should cost to manage your Google Ads campaign, it really depends on how much time, effort, and energy you want people to put into that management. The folks that are charging $200 a month or $500 a month, some of them I'm sure are pretty good. Some of them just are smaller, or they're freelancers. They're relying way more on automation, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not aligned with the way that we do things. And you also, again, have to ask yourself, like, how much are they really able to invest in this, given the amount of money that they're charging? There needs to be an apples-to-apples comparison. I'll give you a few examples, a few of my favorite examples. We track and record every single phone calls that our campaign yields. So if we run a Google Ads campaign for you, and you get phone calls from that campaign, and not everybody does, but this is just one example of many. If you get phone calls from that campaign, most Google Ads agencies, and I mean 99.99999% of all Google Ads agencies that I know of, are tracking the duration of the call in order to determine whether or not it was a lead. And so they just put in a threshold, like if the call's over 45 seconds, then it was a lead, or over 60 seconds, or over 30 seconds, or whatever. But it's generally not more than a minute, and they're like, oh, that was a lead, and we're going to optimize for that event. The problem is if you actually review your phone calls, the majority of calls that last over a minute still aren't leads. A savvy solicitor can keep you on the line for a couple of minutes before you really know what it is that they're up to, just doing their weird discovery thing. So what we do is we track and record every phone call, and then we score those phone calls, and then we manually import those conversions back into Google Ads, and that's all included in the price point. So now it's that layer of complexity, and that's one little added bonus value of ours, of many. that it provides squeaky clean data. It makes our campaigns, far easier and better, far easier to optimize and better optimized than any other campaign, because Google's looking for common denominators. It's trying to replicate success. And if you give it false positives with 60-second phone calls, then it's going to go get you more of those false positives, which you don't want. Another really good example is a lot of Google Ads campaign managers will either rely way too heavy on one data set, or not reconcile data at all. I'll give you another example, or an example of that. For e-commerce campaigns, ads managers have the really bad habit of just importing analytics conversion events and then relying entirely on the analytics conversions events. The problem with that is it doesn't let you take advantage of all of the tools available inside the Google Ads dashboard. And Google Ads and Google Analytics track attribution differently. So you have multiple ways to approach attribution: time decay, first click, last click, etc. And not tracking conversions inside of Google Ads doesn't give you the opportunity to really get the full view of data. But if you were to only track conversions inside of Google Ads and not track conversions inside of Google Analytics, then now you can't reconcile that data. And if there's an error, or over-reporting or under-reporting, you wouldn't know. And I can tell you, and I don't know what a percentage is here, but I would say the majority of agencies are really only tracking one data set. Very few agencies reconcile against a secondary data set in order to determine that the campaign quality is actually high. So that's another example. We also optimize off of a base 100 optimization rate, which is the statistician's model. We're not just sitting there, shooting from the hip on gut instinct. Like, we have a formula and a process to walk through. The other thing that I think is really unique about us is we have a 3-tiered management structure or system. So typically, and if you've run Google Ads before, you've probably had this experience, what ends up happening is the agency connects you with your resource. And that resource is managing you, and they're managing the account. That's a dangerous place to be, because they are both the dumbest and the smartest person in that room. What we've done is we've set up a campaign management structure that looks like a triangle. We have the client manager, who's your advocate. They're there constantly saying, how do we make this perform better? They're not incentivized on spend. They're not commission-based. And they're accessible to you virtually without limit. I have had to pull some clients back. But, if you have a question or a legitimate reason to connect, the client manager's there basically whenever you need them. And so you think about, what should that cost? And then the client manager is connected to the account specialist. And the account specialist is assigned based off of their proficiency. So now you have 2 resources at play. And the account specialist is managing the campaigns. The client manager is helping manage the specialist and passing communication back and forth. And then sitting on top of that duo, completing our trifecta, is a dedicated account strategist. So somebody who is, let's say, senior on our team, and we're a small team. We're sub 30 employees. We have 2 strategists. So you would get assigned one of 2, and they're overseeing the entire thing. We overview every single campaign weekly at a minimum, and then making sure that everything's going the right direction. So now you have 3 dedicated resources all on your campaign, along with the manual intervention that we provide. And then the question again that I pose is what would you charge? What would you want to be paid if you were providing that? So as far as what should PPC cost, we've been pretty bullish. I don't know many agencies that list their pricing on their website. Our pricing is listed on the homepage of the website. So if you go to the website right now, you're going to see our pricing. And the comment that I get from some, especially small businesses, is why are you so expensive? What's really funny about that is the comment I get, because we do a ton of white label work, so the comment I get from big average tower agencies is, oh, why are you so cheap? And there's 2 sides of that coin. And with those folks, I actually have to manage an entirely different expectation, because they like to do, a lot of discovery calls, and they want RFPs responded to and great big proposals written. And I'm like, we don't do any of that. You're the big ivory tower agency. That's your job. When you are ready, you submit the campaigns to us, and then we're ready to build. And that's the way that white label works. And so, it really depends on what side of the fence you're on is in terms of whether or not we're expensive or we're cheap. But we have made our pricing entirely transparent. So head over to the website. It's sol8.com, sol8.com, to take a look at that and realize that, as far as ad management for small businesses, I think we're probably a 6 or a 7 on a 10 scale. So if you called 10 ad agencies today, I think I'm going to be more expensive than 6 or 7 of them. But for big ivory tower agencies, especially as subcontractors, we're pretty cost effective, and it just depends on your paradigm. So I hope that was helpful. I shoot one of these videos every single day, so if you're interested in some Google Ads knowledge being thrown down, please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if this was helpful or you liked it, or I appealed to you in some way, not in a creepy way. And hit me in the comments if you have any questions or pushback or feedback or whatever. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.